Hi, it's Leslie Meredith with Breakbulk Events and Media. Here we are at Breakbulk Europe, and I am joined by a good friend and supporter of the event. This is Cyril Varghese from Fluor. Welcome back.
Good to see you again, Leslie. As always, I think people this time have been traveling with a vengeance, trying to come back to Europe to meet people in person, to interact, to network, and I think it's been a wonderful turnout this time.
Oh, I do too. It is fantastic. People from all over the world, and you are certainly making the most of this event and supporting us in multiple ways. So let's quickly review those. You were on a technology-related panel. Tell us about that over in our new Discovery and Innovation Hub. Right.
So that's a panel I did yesterday along with Petrofac and Etulog. Yasser was there from Petrofac and Adolf was there from Etulog. The whole idea was to discuss what technology solutions EPC providers need and what are the changing landscapes which necessitate, let's say, a different approach to the tech requirements that the EPCs need, right? I mean, we have certain nuances in the way we work, and I think we would do ourselves a favor in terms of developing technologies which help the way we do business, and it kind of comes from all different perspectives. Number one, we have a lot of volatility and fluctuations in the market, right? So if you have the right product, then you also get to pick and choose the formats with which you can do business, whether you do it on a spot basis, whether you do it, you pull contract rates from the system and then let's say make work simpler and manage logistics instead of doing clerical work. So a lot of these events and items were discussed in that panel. Another thing which is kind of connected to some other boiling discussions are we would ideally want the logistics professionals to manage logistics. So the intention should be to utilize them for their expertise and not bury them under paperwork and clerical work, right? So from all these perspectives, it made a lot of sense to have that discussion. I still don't know why we are discussing technology in 2022, but it's a fact that we need to get where we need to get to.
Yeah, we absolutely do. So tell me, what is the top priority on your list from your perspective at Fluor for technology? What if we were to show up at your door with a technology gift, what is it going to be?
I think the first and foremost would be that there should be an understanding that we are not looking at a tech provider or a tech solution which replaces all the multiple systems. All the systems that we have and the other EPCs would have, they have their own purpose, right? So the whole idea would be to be able to aggregate and orchestrate, pull data from one source, push data into the other source, and then manage the logistics well. So that's first and foremost. I think it has to be a custom built solution which has the flexibility to adapt to each EPC's requirements, right?
Yeah.
So that is there. Equally important is to have something which eliminates a lot of clerical work, a lot of waste, allows visualization, allows aggregation, allows consolidation, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of scope in terms of finding that right solution. Some of them do exist. We need to probably do a little bit of customization here and there, but I think it is important to have some industry-wide standards in terms of how we capture information and how we manage the information flow, so that we can kind of get to a solution which works for all of us.
Absolutely. I think the challenge there oftentimes is the transparency issue and sharing data.
Indeed.
And making sure that you have a common platform that works with different systems. Right. Yeah. So I think a related topic to that is another one that you'll be addressing here at Breakbulk Europe is the talent gap, and hopefully some of the younger generation will be able to contribute to some of these technical or technology related solutions. So tell me, where are we on the talent gap now? That's another topic that we've been talking about for quite a while.
Right. So it is unfortunate that as an industry, we've probably not been able to address the talent gap issue. We've been talking about this for over 10 years. And I think the situation is getting acute, right? If only, when I was walking around and meeting people and seeing what other people are doing, the one thing which crossed my mind is if only we had more job seekers who are trying to evaluate their options in life, if only they were here and could see the buzz and could feel what the shipping industry does, especially on the project forwarding side, that could have been a good influence for them to consider project logistics as a career. I think what we need to realize is we are competing for mind space, right? So unless we are able to market our industry well in front of the younger generation, I don't think we are going to get them. There are appealing industries from a money perspective, from a power perspective, from an overall appeal perspective, which are out there attracting these talents. So we need to actually probably do a little bit more in terms of making ourselves interesting for people to consider as a career. We'll be addressing that a little bit. We'll be talking about the need for training. We'll be talking about the need to understand the aspirational changes of the younger generation. And instead of telling them, this is the way we do business, I think we need to figure out how we can change so that we can match their aspiration, because they are the ones who are going to run the industry a few years down the road.
Eventually. Indeed. Right, exactly. All right, so one other thing we want to touch on, something that's new this year, is programming in the Global Shippers Lounge, the network. Tell me what your role was in that, because that's an exciting new aspect.
So this year there was an idea of having some thought leadership series with kind of closed door sessions where we would get some of the shippers together and few industry stakeholders together and talk about issues, right? Not in a large audience, but generally to see if there's some industry collective or direction that we can set. So one of those conversations I chaired today morning was on fair and balanced contracts and the need to do so, because we are seeing a clear structural shift in terms of how the logistics service providers are addressing and looking at contracts.
Okay.
Right? And I'm of the opinion that it should not be the business of anybody in the industry to gamble on pricing and take unnecessary risk on them. And we've seen consequences of risk in multiple industry sectors, right? So the whole discussion was, how can we make the contracting strategies in a fair and balanced format, whether it is in terms of taking an index-linked approach, whether it's in terms of taking a cost-plus approach, where obviously you need to spend some time defining what the cost is and identifying how we can do that, or in terms of figuring out whether we can do some hedging of container freight, or we can do some hedging of bunker, or using technology to do some of this work. So it was a very interesting discussion with some of the leading EPCs and a few other stakeholders. So I'm happy that I could participate and take a lead on that.
Excellent. Did you get a feeling of consensus out of that?
Well, the idea was not to drive consensus. The idea was more in terms of talking about where we are and what we are seeing and what can we potentially do. I think in general there is a little bit of a consensus that it may be unrealistic, A, from a practical perspective, B, from a purely selfish commercial perspective, to expect fixed and firm rates for a period of 3 years or 4 years. Right?
They've been so volatile.
They have been so volatile.
Yes.
So I think there is space and scope for a more, let's say, engaged kind of format where there are certain risk elements which can be shared by either sides. And I think there would be a path forward that should be emerging within the next year or two.
Okay, that's good. Well, you have covered a lot of ground, and we so appreciate your expertise and input. So I want to thank you for that, and hope you have a wonderful rest of the show.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you.